Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of Formula One 2019 Career Mode. Today we go to the Russian Grand Prix, and it was going to be a full wet race coming up for us, so it's going to be a bit of a, learning curve. I've never done a full wet race, at least in this game. Obviously in past games I've had that happen, but we come straight through into qualifying. We made it to Q2. I had a wet setup on, so I knew we were going to be quite a bit off the pace in qualifying, but it felt like it would pay off better in race time, so I decided, like I said, to put the wet setup on for this episode here. And as we come through into qualifying into Q2, at this point, this is the end of my attempt at this point. Hamilton was P1 as we come through the final sector here at the Russian Grand Prix circuit. Now, as we go down towards the penultimate corner, giving everything I had. This is actually my second attempt, I should say, so I was trying to get a second lap to better my initial lap, but it wouldn't be better. So it was P14 there, and we would call it there, and unfortunately we will be starting P14 here for the Russian Grand Prix. So hopefully we can have a good, solid race here in the wet.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. Well, it's certainly not the best weather out on the Sochi street circuit today. A track that boasts 18 corners, 12 to the right and 6 to the left. And it's a track that combines both fast corners and long straights, resulting in speeds of excess of 200 miles an hour. But with these conditions, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a safety car out there today. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Lewis Hamilton. Everything's on the line here today, and the title hangs at the balance. So how do you think they'll be coping with all that pressure?
I think as long as they keep their mind on the task and not its historical significance, they'll be just fine. This is a race just like any other. You do the best you can and accept that sometimes things are going to happen outside of your control. If they can approach today with that attitude, the pressure shouldn't be a problem.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Pierre Gasly in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Bottas, Lucas Faber and Butler, Sainz, Perez, Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Albon, Leclerc, Daniel Kvyat, the Rainmaster, Giovinazzi, Russell, Romain Grosjean and Daniel Ricciardo. Magnussen and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck.
Alright, let's hope for the best here in Russia. A little nervous coming into this race. Obviously, like I said, I've never done a full wet race, at least in F1 at 2019, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but either way, we pull off the grid from the 14th starting position here for the Russian Grand Prix. Hopefully, we can come out of here in the points. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we come through back to the grid and get ready to go green here for the Russian Grand Prix. Now, it's 5 red lights. Lewis Hamilton on pole, 2 Red Bulls behind him in his light zone. We are underway here in the Russian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton trying to get the best start possible now. And it's been a pretty solid start for him now, as Valtteri Bottas is trying to get up in the mix with the 2 Red Bulls as we go down towards turns 1 here in the Russian Grand Prix. Bottas up into 3rd, just about there as we come through turns 1. It is Gasly in the 2nd position. Verstappen fends off Bottas for that 3rd position, as it's been an absolutely horrible start for myself as we drop down to P17 here in the opening start. So not good for myself. Obviously, we have some work to do. Still trying to get used to the wet conditions here at the Russian Grand Prix now as we come through on the exit of the corner, sitting behind our teammate of Roman Grosjean at this point now as we come through the right-hander. An opportunity to make a move on him, actually, as we go to the right-hand side of him now down the straightaway, but we back out of it now as we head down towards the right-hander, just playing it safe on these opening laps. Obviously, the conditions aren't good. It's very hard to see at this point now as we come through the left-hander. So treacherous, tricky conditions for ourselves that we're trying to get used to as quick as possible. And these opening laps are pretty tough on me. I just felt like I wasn't quite prepared for this, and maybe I should have gotten a little more practice, but we were starting to get the handle on it throughout the rest of this race. Now as we come through towards the end of this first lap, just kind of staying put right behind our teammate Roman Grosjean. Certainly looking like we might be in for a rough day, and I'm not sure at this point if we're going to be in a points battling position. Obviously, we've only had one race this season where we haven't got points, and that was the Chinese Grand Prix, which was the third race of the season. So hopefully we don't have that issue today now as we come through on the second lap, and as we came through now to lap 3, approaching lap 4, still right behind Grosjean, just kind of settling in at this point. But I would try to do my best to stick with Grosjean and try to keep the pressure on him, because obviously we want to get moving forward as quick as possible here. Obviously, we can still maybe get within a top 10 if we can get past these guys in front of me. Right now, we were being held up by, I believe it was George Russell in the Williams at this point, so he was kind of helping me right now as we came through on lap 5, still just behind Grosjean as we head down the long straightaway. Just couldn't quite get the traction on the exit of the corner to stick with him. I would put it into overtake, but it just didn't have the speed, and I wasn't quite close enough to be able to make a move on Grosjean now as he went down towards the right-hander here. So just still settling in, hoping that I can get the power down on one of these corners enough to where I get a run on Grosjean and have a chance to make the pass now as we head down through into the left-hander here on this 5th lap. It's Albon actually just in front of Russell at this point. He has gotten away, and now he's going to try and drive away from this group of cars here in the Russian Grand Prix as we continue to drive in P17. Now it's came to lap 7 once again on the exit of the right-hander. This time though, we get the power down enough to be able to stick with Grosjean as we head down the straightaway, and we might be able to have enough speed to make a move on our teammate as we head down towards the right-hander, sticking in line with him. Now we're going to dug out a line and send it up the inside there of our teammate of Roman Grosjean into the right-hander, and now side by side with our teammate now as we come through into the left bend here in this final sector, and we make the move and pass our teammate of Roman Grosjean and now move up into P16. Certainly not the position that we want to be fighting for, but it's the position we found ourselves, unfortunately, in now as we head down the straightaway towards now on lap 9, getting another run here, this time on Antonio Giovinazzi, looking to his right-hand side as we head down the straightaway, trying to take over P15 as we come through the left bend down into the right-hander, already clear of Giovinazzi now as we set our sights on George Russell here in the Williams as we come through the left-hander, heading down through this little bendy area on the final sector, and as we came through on lap 10, this time building up the momentum on George Russell down the same straightaway that we passed Grosjean and Giovinazzi on. So we look to the right-hand side, this time of Russell now as we go down towards the right-hander, sending it in pretty deep. The tires slide, but we hang on to it and keep on the racing course, pushing Russell a little bit wide, but it looks like he holds on to his position for now. So as it came through on lap 13, at this point we started driving away from the guys behind, setting a pretty decent pace, but it wasn't quick enough to close in on the back of Alexander Albon. He was still driving away from me, so it looked like we were going to be settling in for a 14th place finish at this point here in the Grand Prix as we come through the right-hander, hoping that maybe we get a safety car or something, or we can just find a pace now as it came to lap 15, still running in that 14th position, a pretty decent gap between myself and Giovinazzi now as we head down into the final corner at this point, closing in on 10 laps to go already here as we come through to cross the line on lap 16 of 27, and now as we came through with 10 laps to go, still about the same gap between myself and Giovinazzi. I felt the pace actually starting to drop off a bit at this point. The conditions were also starting to lighten up. The light rain was coming in. Obviously, it's been heavy rain this whole time, so we might actually have to put on the intermediate tires. Might be a little bit of a strategy shake-up now as we come through the right-hander. But doing my best here to just keep up the pace. But Giovinazzi and our teammate Grosjean were slowly starting to inch their way towards me at this point now here on lap 18 of 27. Now as it comes through to lap 20, actually had pulled away a little bit again from Giovinazzi. I found a little more pace, but then it was just all over the place because it was dropping off. I was finding something, pulling away, and then I was losing some time again here and there. So you have a ton of oversteer on the exit of that corner now as we're getting close to maybe thinking about putting on the intermediate tire, because you can certainly see the conditions were definitely starting to improve now as it come through. On lap 21, I decided we're going to come in to put the intermediate tire on. Jeff came over the radio and said we should do it, and I was 100% on board because you can see Grosjean and Giovinazzi were closing up on me pretty quick at this point, and I felt like there was no way I was going to hold them off for the rest of this Grand Prix. So we're going to come in to put on the intermediate tire now as we head down towards our pit box. I was expecting more drivers to come to pit lane. Some did to put on the intermediates, but surprisingly to myself, I would be one of the only ones back here putting on the intermediate tire now, as you do see a Renault coming in to put on the intermediate tire as well. So we're not the only ones, but certainly one of the few that come into the pit lane to do this strategy. This would give us about 5 laps or so to be able to run down the cars ahead. So will the strategy pay off? I wasn't sure at the time now as we re-exit in the 18th position quickly. We had a lot of speed, obviously, compared to the other drivers, so I had some confidence that maybe we could make this work now as we come through the first turn, heading down up towards the left-hander. So through this carousel, and we would quickly, like I said, start to close in now as we came to lap 23, a lap after we had made this pit stop within 10 or so seconds, I believe, at this point, of George Russell now as we come through towards the end of lap 23, continuing to quickly close in on the back of the Williams. But now we have issues up ahead as Pierre Gasly, who is pulling off to the side of the circuit. He has had a mechanical issue now as we come through on lap 23, so that's going to give us at least an extra position. And as we came through to lap 24, we had closed in right on the back of George Russell. We make a move up his inside now and move into the 16th spot, and now set our sights on the group of cars up ahead of Magnussen, Giovinazzi, and our teammate Roman Grosjean. Those are the 3 cars we need to pass to at least make this strategy a success now. Now as we come through on lap 25, 3 to go, continuing to close in on the back of them pretty quickly. So it's going to be close to see if we can make this intermediate strategy work now as we come through, now approaching 2 to go, even closer to the bank of the Renault of Magnussen and the Alfa Romeo of Giovinazzi as we come through this little right bend here in turns 1, heading down the straightaway. And as we came through towards the end of this lap, we close in right on the back of Magnussen, looking to his right hand side as he went down the straightaway, approaching the final lap of the Russian Grand Prix now as we go down towards this final sector on the back now of the gearbox of Antonio Giovinazzi. We're going to get aggressive here and look to the right hand side, a little bit of a sliding there, but we make it work. Giovinazzi though, he pushes us wide now as we come through. We're going to rejoin back onto the track, still looking to his right hand side as we come through the right hander now down towards the left hander through into this right hander now, and we clear Giovinazzi. Now set our sights on our teammate of Roman Grosjean as we come through the penultimate corner down towards the final corner. The white flag is in the air for Lewis Hamilton, who has once again dominated this Grand Prix now as we exit the corner, now 2.9 seconds behind our teammate of Roman Grosjean on the intermediate tire. We still might be able to run him down now as we come through on this final lap in the Russian Grand Prix, quickly driving away from Giovinazzi and Kevin Magnussen now as we head down through the second turn on this course, quickly closing in on the back of Roman Grosjean, who is desperately trying to beat us now. He hasn't beat us in quite some time. We've had a streak of just continuing to beat our teammate of Grosjean now as Lewis Hamilton though comes through on the exit of the final corner. He once again wins here in the Russian Grand Prix, and in second place it's Max Verstappen, and third place is Lucas Weber somehow now as he rounds out the podium. No Ferraris on the podium again now as we continue to close in on the back of Grosjean as we head through the right-hander down towards the back straightaway for the final time. Definitely close enough to make a move now, this time on Grosjean here on this final lap in the Russian Grand Prix for 13th position as we look to his right-hand side down the straightaway towards the little left bend down towards the right-hander, side by side with our teammate of Grosjean, but we outbrake him now just a little bit. Now he's going to continue to battle it out now, but we do clear him in through this final sector, and now it's just up to me to not make a mistake in these final corners now as we move up into the 13th position in front of our teammate of Roman Grosjean now as we head down towards the penultimate corner. It's been a disappointing effort, a rough day here for us in the Russian Grand Prix now as we have a little bit of oversteer down into the final corner. Now we come through on the exit to finish in P13 for the Russian Grand Prix.
Pick up rubber and bring it home.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
disappointing finishing position for us. Obviously, it would have been awesome to get a top 10. So that's our first non-top 10 since, like I said earlier, the Chinese Grand Prix. So unfortunate for us, but hopefully we can bounce back in the next one, which I believe we go to Japan in the next episode there as we fall down to 8th in the points. Lucas Weber on the podium, a great effort for our Formula 2 teammate now. So now Haas continues to sit P5 in the constructors standings. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very, very appreciated. Our rep went quite a bit down there with Ferrari, which is unfortunate because that's the team we want to be on next season. So in the next episode, we do, I believe, go to the Japanese Grand Prix. We did have a contract that we had to make or negotiate with. So we proposed that contract, and it was actually successful. So there you see our new contract on the screen there as McLaren still ahead of us. Hopefully we can make some more upgrades. We're going to worry about the aerodynamics probably after the Japanese Grand Prix, so we're not going to worry about fixing those issues right now. So we're going to try and make a few more upgrades here within the coming episodes, and hopefully those will pay off quite a bit, and hopefully we can leapfrog ahead of McLaren in the next episode. So that'll do it for this one. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have yourselves a great day.